How you I gotta ask you this, man. I know it's been a couple weeks, man. What you feel about that Shannon Sharpe live, man? Because they they kind of threw that one under the.
And that the was about handcuffs, choking, putting on dog collars. Do you get those at Petco?
The Shannon Sharpe scandal is spiraling out of control, and the fallout is hitting harder than anyone could have predicted. Once a celebrated figure in sports and entertainment, Sharpe now finds himself at the center of a storm that's equal parts personal drama and public spectacle. The accusations against him are not just shocking, they're explosive, threatening to upend everything he's built over decades. But what's making the saga even more gripping is the role of his so-called allies, particularly Stephen A. Smith, whose flip-flopping loyalty is adding fuel to an already raging fire. Let's dive into this tangled web of betrayal, power plays, and the kind of revelations that make you wonder just how deep this rabbit hole goes.
On Easter Sunday, a lawsuit was filed in state court in Nevada against Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe because he has become such a massive media star, especially in the past few years. The lawsuit is going to attract.
It all started with whispers, those quiet rumors that creep into the corners of social media before exploding into full-blown headlines. The allegations against Sharpe weren't just troubling, they were career-ending, the kind of claims that make sponsors run and networks scramble. A former partner came forward with accusations of control, verbal altercations, and threats that, if true, paint a picture of a man far removed from the charismatic figure fans thought they knew. But the real shock came when audio surfaced, an alleged recording of Sharpe making a chilling comment about physical harm during an argument. The clip, short but haunting, immediately went viral, setting the internet ablaze with speculation. Was this just a moment of hyperbole taken out of context, or was it something far darker? The timing couldn't have been worse, coinciding with a separate lawsuit that claimed their relationship involved a disturbing dynamic of manipulation and dominance. Sharpe's initial response was defiant. He dismissed the allegations as a shakedown, accusing his accuser and her lawyer of orchestrating a scheme for financial gain. His legal team even released text messages they claimed showed a consensual and playful relationship. But if Sharpe thought this would calm the storm, he was sorely mistaken. The texts, far from exonerating him, only deepened the controversy. They hinted at a relationship that, while consensual on the surface, was fraught with power imbalances and troubling behavior. Critics pounced, arguing that the text did more to incriminate than exonerate, painting a picture of a man who didn't just blur the lines, but trampled right over them.
And it's where we're getting started. It's involving some news that broke yesterday involving Shannon Sharpe, my colleague at ESPN, and my friend.
And then there's Stephen A. Smith. If anyone was expected to stand by Sharpe during this crisis, it was him. After all, it was Stephen A. who had personally recruited Sharpe to join ESPN's First Take, a move that had been celebrated as a masterstroke for the network. Their on-screen chemistry was electric. Their debates must-watch television. But now, the cracks in their bond are glaringly obvious. When the allegations first broke, Stephen A. was quick to comment, but not in a way that Sharpe might have hoped. Instead of offering unequivocal support, he struck a cautious tone, emphasizing the seriousness of the accusations and the importance of Disney's image. He talked about standards, about reputations, about how the network couldn't afford to be seen as lenient. The message was clear. Whatever loyalty he might have felt to Sharpe, it came second to protecting his own professional standing.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. Works on First Take, which airs on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time.
Fans noticed. Social media lit up with criticism of Stephen A., accusing him of throwing Sharpe under the bus. The backlash was swift, with many pointing out the stark contrast between his cautious approach to Sharpe's situation and his vocal defense of other high-profile figures in the past. When similar allegations had surfaced against Jay-Z, for instance, Stephen A. had been one of the first to publicly defend the rapper, citing their long-standing friendship and his personal belief in Jay-Z's character. But now, with Sharpe, the tone was different. Colder, more calculated. It didn't take long for people to start asking, was this about the allegations Or was Stephen A. seizing an opportunity to distance himself from a sinking ship?
With me every Monday and Tuesday. We've been number one for 13 years and counting. But since Shannon has arrived, obviously he's helped the show immensely. And I can't thank him enough for it. We've grown close as friends. I'd like to believe that.
And it's not just fans who are questioning Stephen A.'s motives. Behind the scenes, insiders are whispering about tension between the two that predated the scandal. Sharpe's meteoric rise outside of ESPN, particularly the success of his podcast club Shay, had reportedly caused friction. While Stephen A. remained the face of First Take, Sharpe was carving out his own empire, drawing attention and accolades that some say Stephen A. found hard to stomach. The Katt Williams interview, which went viral and cemented Sharpe's status as a cultural powerhouse, was reportedly a tipping point. Suddenly, Sharpe wasn't just Stephen A.'s co-host, he was a competitor.
I certainly root for him. I know he's been through a lot in life. He's overcome a lot of things. And when he departed from Fox, I was more than happy to bring him on board here.
And then there's the fallout from Stephen A.'s public comments. After initially distancing himself, he seemed to backtrack, releasing a statement that he believed in Sharpe's innocence and hoped the allegations would prove false. But by then, the damage was done. Sharpe, according to sources close to him, felt deeply betrayed. He had expected Stephen A. to have his back, to stand with him as a friend and colleague. Instead, he got what many are calling a masterclass in self-preservation. Stephen A.'s statements, while carefully worded, didn't just fail to support Sharpe. They actively fueled the narrative that his career was in jeopardy. And for a man who built his brand on loyalty and camaraderie, that betrayal cuts deep.
To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take.
But Stephen A. isn't the only figure in this drama whose actions are raising eyebrows. The accuser's lawyer, Tony Buzz B., has a reputation for taking on high-profile cases and winning them in the court of public opinion. His strategy is clear. Keep the story in the headlines, drip-feed explosive details, and let the weight of public scrutiny do the rest. And it's working. Every new revelation, whether it's a leaked audio clip, a damning text message, or an insider account of Sharpe's behavior, adds another layer to the narrative, making it harder and harder for him to mount a credible defense. Even Sharpe's decision to step away from ESPN, ostensibly to focus on his legal battles, has been spun as an admission of guilt.
Are now beginning to bring up past things that have happened with Shannon Sharpe, including a temporary restraining order that was filed against him back in 2010 from a woman that he was dealing with at the time, who accused him of sexual assault. He said in different things. Now, this was dropped. It was dismissed, that restraining.
Meanwhile, the industry is watching closely, and the whispers are getting louder. Brands that once lined up to work with Sharpe are now re-evaluating those partnerships. Executives at ESPN are reportedly furious about the negative attention, with some questioning whether Sharpe's presence on First Take is worth the headache. And then there's the question of what happens next. Will Sharpe fight to clear his name, or will he quietly fade into the background? Another fallen star in the ever-turning wheel of celebrity scandal.
They want everything to happen immediately.
Absolutely.
It's only Thursday.
Instant. They want everything to instantly happen. It doesn't work like that.
The righteous people on Reddit, baby, they are dissecting and divulging right now.
What makes this story so compelling and so tragic is the sheer complexity of it all. This isn't just a tale of one man's alleged misdeeds. It's a window into the cutthroat world of sports media, where loyalty is conditional, image is everything, and the line between public persona and private behavior is razor thin. It's a story of power, ambition, and the lengths people will go to protect what they've built, or to tear someone else down. And as more details emerge, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This is far from over. The real question isn't whether Sharpe can recover. It's how many more secrets will come to light before this saga finally reaches its breaking point. And yet, just when you think the storm couldn't get any darker, New layers of this scandal are unraveling, exposing a web of chaos that no one seems prepared to handle. Behind closed doors, Shannon Sharpe's world is reportedly crumbling at an alarming pace. His once ironclad alliances are dissolving, his professional relationships are hanging by a thread, and the whispers within the industry are starting to sound more like roars. Insiders are leaking stories of volatile meetings, of network executives growing increasingly impatient with the endless stream of bad press. ESPN may not have officially severed ties yet, but make no mistake, the tension is palpable. Rumors are swirling that the higher-ups are already strategizing a clean break, one that saves them from further embarrassment while quietly cutting Sharpe loose.
Like the Deshaun Watson cases where there were 20 plus plaintiffs and they weren't really sure who the people were who were making the claims. In this case, Shannon Sharpe knows exactly who it is because there had been, and it's clear from the statement issued by his lawyer, Lanny Davis, there had been some pre-litigation efforts to try to resolve this.
And speaking of embarrassment, the leaked audio clip that initially set this fire ablaze, it's not the only recording floating around. Sources close to the situation are hinting at the existence of additional clips, conversations allegedly filled with confrontational exchanges, power plays, and, most damning of all, moments that could further challenge Sharpe's already shaky narrative. Lawyers on both sides are on high alert, working overtime to control the narrative before these potential recordings see the light of day. But in today's digital age, how long can you really keep a lid on anything? The clock is ticking, and the suspense is suffocating.
That's how we found out about the lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. Now, this one has some very strong allegations: sexual assault, sexual battery, assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The sexual components obviously give it greater gravity than a car accident or any case based on some sort of negligent slip and fall, something like that, where someone was just being careless.
Meanwhile, the accuser, whose identity has now been dragged into the public sphere thanks to Sharpe's own legal team, is reportedly doubling down. Her attorney, Tony Busby, is a man who thrives in the spotlight, and he's treating this case like his personal magnum opus. Every statement he releases is sharper than the last, every move calculated to keep the story alive and Sharpe cornered. Busby's latest bombshell, he claims to have evidence that paints an even more disturbing picture of the relationship, evidence that could dismantle Sharpe's defense entirely. And while Sharpe's team continues to insist that the relationship was consensual, public opinion is swaying with every new detail Busby throws into the arena.
Tony Busby says this is key evidence in our case against Mr. Sharpe, so it will not be coming out. He will not be leaking this.
And saying basically it's going to come out during the trial.
Right.
If there's a trial.
If there's a trial, it will come out, which to me sounds like he's still dangling it over Shannon's head to say, we can meet, we can settle this, or we can go forward into a trial, and then the video is going to come out.
But let's talk about the public for a minute, because their role in this saga is more crucial than ever. Social media has turned into a battleground, with hashtags supporting both sides trending on and off. Fans who once idolized Sharpe are now caught in a moral tug-of-war, unsure whether to continue supporting the man they admired or to join the growing chorus calling for accountability. And then there are the skeptics, those who believe this entire scandal is a coordinated takedown, a smear campaign designed to destroy a man at the height of his career. The discourse is messy, polarizing, and relentless. Every tweet, every post, every viral clip adds another layer to the chaos.
Essence from Atlanta, him refusing to look at the evidence just gives me the impression that he wants plausible deniability, and maybe the evidence should be released so that way he does not deny his actions. I mean, if that was me, I would definitely want to look at the evidence to see what I did and did not do so I can maintain my innocence.
And yet, what's truly wild is how this scandal is dragging others into its orbit. Stephen A. Smith, despite his attempts to play both sides, is now facing backlash of his own. Critics are calling him a hypocrite, accusing him of using Sharpe's downfall as a stepping stone to further secure his own dominance at ESPN. Former colleagues and rivals are throwing subtle jabs, questioning the authenticity of their once close relationship. One particularly pointed comment from a former network insider suggested that Stephen A's sudden shifts in tone weren't about loyalty or truth. They were about staying ahead in the cutthroat world of sports media. It's a brutal game, and Stephen A is proving that he's more than willing to play it. And then there's the matter of Sharpe's past, a past that's now being dissected with surgical precision. Old allegations, long buried and forgotten, are being dragged back into the spotlight, Stories of heated disputes, of questionable behavior at previous jobs, of incidents that were quietly settled before they could explode into scandals of their own. It's like a dam has burst, and every skeleton in Sharpe's closet is being laid bare for the world to see. And while some of these stories may hold little weight, the sheer volume of them is enough to make anyone pause. Is this just a case of piling on? Or is there a deeper pattern emerging?
According to reports, that video will not be released. Attorney Tony Busby came out and said that they are not planning to release that video how they were dropping audio because it's a very strong point of their evidence in this case, and they're going to keep it and use it as such.
Court.
Yeah. Now, that is interesting because Shannon Sharpe, remember, he kept saying he believes the video was going to come out. He believes the video was going to come out. So there's been a change.
Even Sharpe's podcast, once a shining beacon of his post-football career, isn't immune to the fallout. Club Shay, which had become a platform for candid conversations and viral moments, is now under intense scrutiny. Fans are combing through old episodes, looking for comments or jokes that could be interpreted differently in light of recent events. And they're finding them. Offhand remarks that once seemed harmless now feel loaded, like clues in a puzzle that's only now starting to come together. The irony is thick. Sharpe's own words, recorded and broadcast to millions, are now being used to question his character and credibility.
Another interesting thing too, and this is why I said, I've never seen anybody handle a situation worse than Shannon and his team. After this came out, we would have never known about that so-called video if it wasn't for Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shannon jumped out there and revealed that video existed. And he did that for no reason because they wasn't even planning on putting it up.
And let's not forget the ripple effects beyond Sharpe's immediate circle. The sports world is watching this scandal unfold with bated breath, knowing full well that its outcome could set a precedent for how similar cases are handled in the future. Networks, sponsors, even athletes themselves are taking notes, bracing for the potential fallout. The stakes are enormous, not just for Sharpe, but for everyone connected to him. This isn't just about one man's reputation. It's about the delicate balance of power, influence, and accountability in an industry that often prioritizes profit over principle. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of this entire saga is how it's affecting those involved on a personal level. Insiders close to Sharpe are describing a man who is unraveling under the weight of it all. The confidence, the swagger, the larger-than-life persona that made him a star, it's all starting to crack. Behind the scenes, Sharpe is reportedly struggling to hold it together, his once unshakable composure giving way to moments of frustration and despair. And who could blame him? This isn't just a PR nightmare, it's a dismantling of everything he's worked for. Peace by agonizing peace.
To whom much is given, much is required, right? And once you've reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head.
And yet, through it all, there's a lingering sense that this story is far from over. Every day brings new revelations, new twists, new reasons to question everything we thought we knew about Shannon Sharpe. Will he rise from the ashes, reclaiming his place as a respected figure in sports and media? Or is this the beginning of the end, a slow-motion collapse that will serve as a cautionary tale for years to come? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. This is a scandal that won't be forgotten anytime soon. So what do you think? Is Shannon Sharpe a victim of circumstance? A man caught in the crosshairs of a relentless media machine? Or are we finally seeing the cracks in a carefully constructed facade? And what about Stephen A. Smith? Friend or opportunist? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and trust us, there's more to come. Stay tuned because this story is only getting started.